Hello and welcome to the Wisepreneurs podcast. My name is Nigel Rawlins and I work with a range of women who are professionals in their field. They're often 50 to 60 years old who want to start their own business. In this podcast, I'll be interviewing a range of guests who will be able to tell you how they've done it themselves, and others who will give you hints and ideas and tips and maybe the confidence you need to go out and start your own business. I'm delighted to welcome back the brilliant Lisa Marie Cabrelli for her second appearance on the show. Lisa Marie first joined the conversation in episode 9 when she was deep into pursuing a PhD in literature at the University of Edinburgh. Since then, Lisa Marie has completed her doctoral degree and published another novel. She has an exciting update on how her literary studies now influence her life coaching business. Lisa Marie is redesigning her programs using the power of storytelling and the heroine's mythological journey. She really is a Renaissance woman, former actress and digital nomad pioneer with much wisdom to share. Join us as we discuss Lisa Marie's remarkable journey and her visions for the future of work and creativity. Welcome, Lisa, to the Wisepreneurs podcast again. Last time we published a conversation, it was October 24th last year. So it's lovely to talk to you again. And the reason I wanted to talk to you again was because you were doing a PhD last time we spoke, and I want to know what's happened since then. How did you go with it? And what are you up to?
Sure. Yes, the PhD was fine. I ended up graduating in June. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to my graduation ceremony because I was in Italy at the time and the graduation ceremony was in Scotland. But I did graduate with a PhD in creative writing. So that was quite a relief after 4 years of work. And I am thrilled to be back to my actual creative writing. I did sell the novel that I wrote for my PhD. That's been sold. So I'm starting on a new novel in a new genre. I'm actually pretty close to halfway through. So I'm writing a family saga this time. And it is a family saga about a dynastic real estate family in the Bahamas. So it's based in Nassau in the Bahamas. I know a lot about Nassau because I lived there for 5 years and actually still have a home there. So we do spend a couple of months a year there every year. That's my first project. And my second project is even more exciting. My second project is I have been both a business coach and a life coach for many, many years. I actually don't coach individually anymore because I find that I don't really have the time to do that. But my PhD has given me a lot of insight into what I was doing before because I discovered that the structure of story really fed into people designing their lives. So I had a course that I've been teaching for many years, and it's called Ultimate Life Planning. And it's basically focused primarily on women. And the goal of the Ultimate Life Planning course is to teach women the tips and tools they need, the skills and tools they need to plan the life that they really would like to live. And I have that course and I haven't taught it in a while. And I revisited the course with the knowledge that I gained during my PhD. And I'm now developing a course called the Heroine's Adventure. And it is my ultimate life planning course using the secrets of story and the hero's journey. So it's really adding like the real secrets of story into the tools and techniques for planning and delivering your ultimate life.
Wow. That sounds amazing. One of the things that we did talk about on the last podcast interview was the fact that you were an actress for 8 years. So the arts, and then you went into business for a while, which you sold and then retired from. And then you did your PhD in literature. So there's performing arts to start with and now literature. And that's informing a lot of what you do. And you're a well-organised person. How did being an actress for 8 years, do you see any of that developing, coming through as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the primary thing I think about being in the arts is that you really learn discipline. So you learn how to plan and structure your day because you need to get in your practice, right? I mean, musicians, dancers, actors, everyone needs really strong practice habits. That's one thing. When I went into business, of course, my performance skills were really valuable because I often had to present to thousands of people. I was developing software for global telecommunications. And so there were a lot of times I had to stand in front of, 1,000 salespeople at a sales conference and present my ideas and convince them that my ideas were good ideas. And that, definitely my performance skills came in very handy at that point. And then also in my writing, I think that my acting skills are even more valuable because I'm capable of understanding character. I mean, I've learned how to put myself into the footsteps of other people during my acting training. And I know the techniques for what I need to do to make those characters strong and unique and interesting. And when you're writing, it's the same kind of process. You put yourself into the shoes of the character that you're writing and you just let them speak. So yeah, I think that the arts are really valuable in so many ways. Just creativity in general enables people to think outside of the box and to extend their reach into other disciplines. I remember actually speaking to my mentor, who was an acting teacher for many, many years. And I was complaining to her when I was designing software and I was working in business. And I said, I feel like I'm not using my creative talents. And she said to me, are you crazy? What is software design if it's not creation? And, she put it in my head that actually everything we do is creative. Everything we do is creation. And so you're not wasting your talents by doing other disciplines.
Mm-hmm. No, that's amazing. I'm just thinking that using the body to move and to perform must be informing you compared to the rest of us who don't do anything like that. And I think you just explained how that works, is you're able to put yourself into the character. Were you seeing yourself as a character when you get up on the stage in your business presentations?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was the character of Lisa Marie, the business person. I mean, I've had imposter syndrome my whole life. I still do. And the way I handle that is just become the person that I'm expected to be in that particular circumstance.
Now, that was an interesting thing you've just raised about the imposter syndrome, because I'm beginning to hear that a lot. I don't know if it's just women or creative people. What can you tell us about the imposter syndrome and how to deal with it?
I personally think it's primarily women, and I don't know why, but I don't often see it in men. We have this saying, have the confidence of a mediocre white man, because it seems that most men go into everything with the confidence that they're just going to succeed. I had that experience so often in the corporate world. And I think that women feel that they basically constantly have to prove themselves, perhaps. I don't know why I have imposter syndrome. My husband gets really annoyed with me because, I have a PhD in creative writing, but I'm still afraid to, put myself out there as any kind of expert. So,
and how many books have you written now?
I've written 7 novels.
7 novels. You've done a PhD. You've been an actress for 8 years. You ran a business to multi-million dollars, which you sold.
Wow.
And yet you still feel you've got some imposter syndrome.
I do. I still feel like I have to prove myself. I don't know why. It's a very interesting question. I'm sure a therapist could get it out of me, but
well, one of the reasons I originally interviewed you was because you put together a Rome research course, and I want to talk a little bit about note taking and the fact that when you went through your university, you're doing your PhD, you obviously had to organise your notes that led you to Rome research. Because I basically work with professionals nowadays who are 50, 60, sometimes older. They have to organise themselves and be able to write and to communicate. So you did the Rome research course that I did, But you've moved on a little bit from that. And can you tell us about your note-taking and your writing and the systems you used?
Sure. I used Roam Research exclusively during my PhD. It was an extremely valuable tool and remains valuable to me because it does contain the majority of my notes and thoughts over the past 4.5, 5 years. Has it been 5 years? Maybe 4 years. But what happened is towards the end of my PhD, when I was actually finalizing the draft, Tana came along. I was very good during the entire time of using Roam Research, not being distracted by shiny new things. I had a project to finish. I had all of my notes and my work for that project in Roam Research. So for me to get distracted by another system would have been disastrous, right? Because I would have had to start all over again. In the shift between finishing my academic work and going back to exclusively my creative work, I decided that I would give Tana a chance. It was actually TFT Hacker who texted me and said, you really should try this tool. And he gave me an invitation. And I have a lot of respect for Chris. And so I said, okay. And I tried it and I put it away and I didn't use it because it was very difficult shifting my thinking from the way that Roam is structured to the way that Tana is structured. It works in a completely different way. And then I was doing some creative work and I realized that I really needed to have more detail about my super tags, my tags, than Roam was allowing me to collect in a very organized manner.
We should explain tags because tags work in Roam. So any note-taking app will have tags. So would you like to explain that before we then go into Tana's tags?
What you can do with tags is you can take a node and you can tell what the node is by adding a tag. So take, for example, because I'm back into creative writing now, I had a character. And let's say my character's name was, Joe Schmo. And in Roam, I would tag him as a character. That would automatically create a page in Roam called character. And underneath character, it would collect every single person that I had named as a character, which is very, very useful. Also in Roam, you can set templates so that when I were to tag something as character, I could actually run a template that would give me the main things I needed to know about a character. The problem is there's no relationship between the fields that you put under Joe Schmo and that character tag. Whereas in Tana, if I tag Joe Schmo as a character, the actual tag of character contains customizable fields that I can assign to Joe Schmo. So it's like a template in Roam, but it's really a data structure that allows you then to associate those specific qualities with Joe Schmo rather than just under Joe Schmo and no relationship to character, if that makes sense.
Probably to people who are not too clear about what we're saying is when you take notes, you can have notes in notebooks and you'll never find them because one of the big things you're about is being able to use those notes and bring them out when you want them. And that's the issue. If you're taking lots of notes, and the best way nowadays is digital notes into these programs like Roam or Tana, we've got to be able to find them and see what they're related to. And this is what it helps us with. So it makes us smarter.
Yeah.
It's just, you've just got to get your head around, and unfortunately, I guess older people who are not so tech savvy, it's something they might need to get their head around. Otherwise, all their notes that they've probably taken over their lifetime have become useless or are difficult to find. So you've now moved into Tana. You still have Roam to keep notes.
Yeah. I still have Roam because I have a great deal of notes in Roam. A lot of them are related to my PhD, so I don't necessarily need to see them every day. So it's quite valuable for me to have a separate database that contains all of that information that I can reach for if I need it, but it's not going to clutter up my existing database in Tana. I have to say that Roam is still the best solution for academics. I would not recommend Tana to anyone who is working in academics based on my experience. I could not have replicated the magical academic note-taking course in Tana. I know that Lucas Cortex Futura has done a lot of academic stuff, and his is probably well worth checking out. But I did not think that it would be able to be transferred because there's some things missing in Tana. It's a very young product, but the development is going at such a rapid pace that I'm sure it will catch up, in the academic realm very, very quickly. There is no Readwise integration, which is an essential piece of the academic process. So because I was not going to be doing academic work anymore, because I've left academia, I'm back to my creative writing, I did not keep up the magical academic note-taking course, but it was still selling because even though it was not up to date, there's a lot of valuable content in that course. And so I just reached out to everyone who had already taken the course in an email, and I said, anyone who wants to take over magical academic note-taking can just have it and use my videos and, take the revenue that's coming in. And I got a really interesting email from a librarian at a university in the US, and he expressed a great deal of interest in taking it over and making it open source. So he wanted to be able to offer the course for free to undergraduate students as well as to graduate students, and he wanted to continue to develop it. So I passed it on to him. So it's in his hands right now.
Oh, fantastic. I found it very useful because I was struggling to get a better handle on Rome. I have started with Tana, but I've just let it go because I've just been reading so much. You mentioned Readwise. I guess we should explain that a bit too. Do you want to explain that? And are you using the Readwise reader as well?
Yes, I use both.
I'll get you to explain that then.
Sure. So Readwise is a tool that it helps you on the front end and the back end. So Readwise Reader is kind of like Pocket or another one of those tools where you can capture articles or blog posts and things you'd like to read from the web. And then as you take notes on that particular article, Readwise captures all of your notes. So you can highlight a sentence and then make a note on that sentence, and Readwise will capture it. But it's not just capturing from Readwise Reader. Readwise has extensions that capture from every single place that you read. So I read on my Kindle. I read in my Kindle app across, several different places. I used to read in several places online, but now I use Readwise Reader for everything because it captures from several sources. And then Readwise will capture all of your notes from all of these different locations. And Rome has an integration. So literally automatically, every day, Readwise goes out there, looks at all the notes you've taken, and transfers them into your Rome research application. Tana doesn't have that ability yet. So what I've been doing is just transferring everything over to Rome and then going in and manually transferring things to Tana, which actually works very well for me because it also gives me another opportunity to run through my notes before I bring things in so that I make sure they're worthwhile keeping.
So tell me, what are you reading on your Kindle and what are you reading on your Readwise reader? What sort of things are you reading?
Well, right now I'm doing a lot of research for the course that I was talking about. So I'm reading a lot of craft books, a lot about story structure and reader engagement, all of the same content that I actually read for my PhD. I am rereading and extending that reading. I also do a lot of personal development reading as well. Readwise links to Medium. It links to other, capturing systems. So when I'm reading personal development stuff, I often carry stuff over from there. I try to focus my research time, which is basically like all the time, right? That's what I'm doing when I'm working. I try to focus my reading on the projects that I am working on at this time. I think it's very easy for people to enjoy taking notes so much that they just collect notes and they don't do anything with them. So I really try to make sure that I'm reading within the project that I'm working on. If I catch myself straying and taking all these notes that when they get into Tana, I think, where do these go? Then I know I'm reading the wrong things.
See, that's interesting in that regard too, because as we get older, we have less time to read. So we do have to be more selective. But unfortunately, I'm a bit that way. I read everything and anything for some reason. So I have thousands of notes, and I want to talk to you about this, ChatGPT and notes from Tana or Rome. How are you finding that?
I love ChatGPT. Love it. I use it all the time, not to write, because it doesn't write very well. It actually doesn't have very many writing talents. What I use ChatGPT for is a brainstorming partner. So I always write to think. It's just something I've always done. When I have an idea I need to work through, I work it out through my fingers. When I have a problem, I write. When I have a story to tell, I write. And it's very difficult when writing is a very lonely job. When you're writing, it's just you and the keyboard or the paper or whatever form you write in. And sometimes you need someone to speak to who understands everything that you have just written, right? That's very difficult if you don't then sit down and read 3 pages of content. My husband, I read my fiction to him, so he knows the story, so I could probably have a conversation with him, but he's not a fiction writer. He doesn't even read fiction. But ChatGPT takes the place of myself. So when I use ChatGPT, it's like I'm having a conversation with myself because I put in everything that I have written, and then I can ask questions of ChatGPT specific to my content. So it really is a game changer. It actually was the tool that I used when I was brainstorming this course. I knew that there was a way to connect all of my skill sets, but I didn't really know what kind of product could result from those skill sets. I knew I had content to share and things to tell people. Everyone talks about coaching. Everyone talks about creative writing. Everyone talks about this. What do I specifically have to offer that is unique and original? And so I had a long conversation with ChatGPT. I told ChatGPT my whole history, my whole work history, my skill sets, things that I thought that I was good at. And although ChatGPT didn't come up with the idea of ultimate life planning through the secrets of story structure and the hero's journey, it led me to that idea because I could engage with ChatGPT as though it were a fully thinking individual and it knew everything about me.
Oh, I'm finding it amazing. So I think there's one of the chaps on Twitter, and I think he's on LinkedIn. He talks about it being an assistant.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
An assistant.
So having all these notes, having ChatGPT, and then having, what's going on in your mind and using it to help organize your thoughts and then going on from there. So that's pretty amazing. And again, I think this is something, professionals have got to come to terms with. And I don't know whether it's because we're not in jobs where we go 9 to 5, and I guess we're out creating things that we can explore that. I don't know where it goes or where it comes from. How did you take it up? Where did you come across it?
I read all the time. So that's where I came across it. I read all the time. I'm on Twitter as well. So I'm pretty good about identifying like future trends and things that are going to be big. And I read about it somewhere and I started using it. And I took a quick little prompt course. Those are very, very helpful. That teach you how to prompts. And that was really helpful. But I use it for my creative writing too, not to write. Again, I don't use it to write. So, all these people who are talking about plagiarism and things like that, I don't use it to write anything. So I couldn't be plagiarizing anything. I use it to think and analyze and converse with the content that I've already written and help me think.
Do you use Grammarly as well?
I do.
Oh.
I use Grammarly.
That's got a plagiarism checker on it as well.
I use Grammarly Go, which is the AI portion of Grammarly that writes for you.
Okay.
I don't use them. I use Grammarly to check my grammar.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Because as you're writing, you make a lot of mistakes.
I've actually found the Go bit just a bit annoying.
Me too. I turn it off on everything.
Which ChatGPT are you using? Are you subscribing to it?
Yeah, I subscribe to the regular ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
And I did see you were talking about Poe earlier, and there is one of the ChatGPT teachers who's talking about Pro, because you could still get the ChatGPT 4 when you subscribe to Poe.
I was going to say it's about $30 US a month, but you get Claude 2 in there, which you can upload multiple documents and get it to compare them, and it's quite a bit of research. So it's quite surprising what you can do. And then you've got about 10 others in there. So it's actually, for me, probably a better subscription than just ChatGPT 4.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the issue for me is that Tana is integrated to ChatGPT 4. So I use AI within the Tana application. And so if I were to move to Poe, I wouldn't be able to use ChatGPT 4.
Okay.
I'd have to go back to ChatGPT 3.5.
You used to be called Laptop Lisa. Is that still the case?
Laptop Life Lisa. Yeah, that's still my handle on a couple of places.
You mentioned before that you're really good at seeing trends that are coming. Can you see some trends in self-employment or freelancing or in business?
Yeah, the reason I was Laptop Life Lisa is because I actually became a digital nomad in 2006. And, now the big trend is being a digital nomad. And that's because people recognized that it was possible through the COVID pandemic. They realized that they could work from home, which meant they could work anywhere. But I had actually set up a completely location independent business in 2006. So I actually worked all over the world at that point. As far as trends go, I think that AI is the trend to look out for. I think it's going to change the world in ways that we cannot even currently imagine. It is, right now it's not sophisticated enough, but the advances they are making are happening so quickly. It's going to, unfortunately, eliminate a lot of jobs. So people are going to have to find other ways to make money. And it might even get to the point where, AI could replace most of what we're doing. And we need to start, countries need to start thinking about a universal basic income.
What happens when there are no jobs?
Yeah.
And the robots are doing the work. I think that's going to be very interesting culturally and politically as well. So what I'm thinking about is, or what I do know from some of the people I've spoken to on the podcast, is that copywriters are finding they're getting less work. So there's a few freelancers out there that are finding that, things are drying up because people are able to do some of this work, especially if they're smart. So you mentioned you did a prompt course. How important do you think prompting is with AI?
Oh, I think it's essential. Absolutely essential. But it's kind of been the trend that's been developing for a while, which is any research is not anymore about looking for answers. It's about asking the right questions. And it's been that way since Google came along, right? Unless you really knew how to ask the right questions, you weren't going to get the information that you were looking for. And I see older people struggling even with Google asking the right questions to get the right result. And so prompt engineering is a really, really valuable skill. And if there are copywriters who are out there losing their jobs, I would say take a prompt engineering course and learn how to prompt.
Yeah,
very quickly, because it's going to be a job that's going to be essential. The people who are going to rule AI are the people who know how to ask the questions to get the right answers. AI is not intelligent. It's a language learning model. So all it's doing is feeding back to you what it thinks you want, right? But it doesn't make any decisions of its own. So unless you're asking the right questions, you are not going to get good results. And I think a lot of people are not enjoying ChatGPT because they don't know how to ask the right questions. And so they are judging their results saying this tool is no good, it's not that smart, but it's the responsibility of the human to, use it correctly.
I've probably used it 20 times today.
Yeah.
To do a whole range of things, all different. And it helps me solve problems. It helps me rewrite a paragraph that I know what I want to try and say, and I've got my notes in there, and I just ask it, how would you rewrite this? And it gives me a go, and then I'll work through that, and I eventually get what I want. Sometimes it gives me more than I thought that I wanted, and it sometimes wows me. And you're right. I think the power is in how you interact with it. And yes, you definitely need to know what prompting is. Did you say you did a prompting course? You did?
I did, yes.
Any particular one, or was just a prompting one?
I did, but I don't know the name of it.
Oh, okay. Did you find it a good one?
Yes, it was good. It was primarily about content creation. So it was one of the earlier ones, so I just picked one. It was good in giving you a real strong overview of how to structure your prompts. What is great in Tana is that Tana has a prompt engineering workbench. So what you can do is if you want to write a prompt, you can pick a node. So you can pick a section of text that you want to use as the context for the prompt. And then they give you a prompt workbench where you can ask the question, see what the result would be on that particular piece of context, and then keep tweaking the prompt until you get the content that you were expecting. So that's a really, really excellent tool. There's probably tools like that out there outside of Tana, where you can do that kind of work. And the other secret that I discovered from the course, which I'll send to you after we get off when I look it up, is ask ChatGPT what the prompt should be.
Yes. It's simple, isn't it? And the other thing too is you can give it instructions of how you want it to do things. I have to tell it, please do not use metaphors because they're terrible. All right.
Really bad.
So you've been designing a course. Can you tell us where you are with that course you're designing? Where is it now and how's it going, and when are you going to release it?
I am about halfway into the design of the course. The original course is there. It's been taught. It's been very successful. I've got, a number of great reviews on that course that I can use. But layering in this concept of story structure and the hero's journey, and specifically relating it to women by using the theories around the heroine's journey, which are different than the hero's journey, is actually taking a lot of research and a lot of time. Luckily, I have a lot of it from my PhD, but there's a lot of ideas that I want to also add in. So it's going to take some time. I'm hoping that it's going to be ready for October, but I do have a waitlist, a VIP waitlist landing page out there. So if anybody would like to join the VIP waitlist, I can certainly give you that link where people can go. The idea is that it's going to be an online course. It's going to be a self-paced online course released all at once. It will not involve me, so it's not a cohort course, so I won't be teaching it live. However, there will be a high-end retreat option after you've taken the course, where I will be holding retreats in my home. So there'll be very, very intimate retreats with only 2 or 3 women at a time. They'll be available probably in the Bahamas, well, definitely in the Bahamas, possibly in Italy and Argentina. So there'll be locations that are really inspiring. They'll be very intimate, and you'll get a lot of time with me directly. So that's the plan for the development of what I'm working on. I think it's very unique and a really useful way for looking at personal development and planning your life. Story is, an ancient and universal tool, and we can use it right now, to help us get to where we need to be.
And I couldn't think of anyone better than you to do that. I mean, you have done a lot in your lifetime already, and you're still very young. which is good. All right. Is there anything else we need to do? Because I think we've basically covered everything. So is there anything else you'd like to say?
I would be really thrilled if your listeners would take a look at the course, and I would be really thrilled if anyone wants to get in touch with me to ask me any questions or needs any, advice on the note-taking courses or the note-taking tools. Happy to do that. So I'll give you my contact info as well. So, I'm here and I'm available to through email anytime.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. It's been wonderful speaking to you again. You always inspire me with the way you think and the things you do. And I keep thinking, I've got so much to learn yet. So thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
I'm looking forward to continuing to provide you with engaging and informative episodes to help you level up in your entrepreneurial journey. Thank you for joining me on the Wisepreneurs podcast.